the American Revolution are primarily referred as Americans, with occasional references to patriots, Whigs, rebels, or revolutionaries. Colonists who supported the British in opposing the revolution are usually referred to as loyalists or Tories. The geographical area of the 13 colonies is often referred to simply as America.
The American Revolution was predicated by a number of ideas and events that combined led the political and social separation of colonial possessions and from the homeland nation and the policing of those former individual colonies into independent nations.
The American Revolutionary era began in 1753 after a series of victories by British forces at the conclusion of French and Indian War, ended the French military threat to British North American colonies, adopting the policies that the colonies should pay an increased proportion of the cost associated with keeping them in the empire. Britain imposed a series of direct taxes followed by other laws intended to demonstrate British authority, all of which proved extremely unpopular in America. Because the colonies lacked representation in governing British parliamentary. Many colonies considered the laws to be illegitimate and a violation of their rights and Englishmen.
In 1772, groups of colonists began to create committees of correspondence, which would lead to their own provincial congresses. In most of the colonies, in the course of 2 years, the provincial congresses of their equivalents rejected the parliament and effectively replaced the British ruling apparatus in the former colony, culminating in 1774 with the coordinating First Continental Congress. In the response to protests in Boston over Parliament's attempts to assert authority to British combat troops, dissolve local governments, and impose direct rule by royal officials. Consequently, the colonies mobilized their militias and fighting broke out in 1775. First ostensibly loyal to King George III, the repeated pleas by the First Continental Congress for royal intervention on their behalf, with Parliament resulted in the declaration by the King that the states were in rebellion and the members of Congress were traitors. In 1776, representatives from each of the original 13 states voted anonymously in the Second Continental Congress to adopt a Declaration of Independence which now rejected the British monarchy and had the Parliament.
The revolution was predicated by a number of pieces of legislation, originating from the British Parliament that for Americans were illegitimate acts of government that had no right to pass laws on Englishmen in the Americans who did not have elected representation in the government. For the British policymakers saw this law as a necessary to reign in colonial subjects who, in the name of economic development that was designed to defeat the home nation, had been allotted near autonomy for too long.
The British Empire at the time operated under the mercantile system where economic assets or capital are represented by bullion, gold, silver, and trade value held by the state, which is best engaged in a positive balance of trade with other nations, exports minus imports. Mercantile policies mean prohibition of trading to Ivory, so that American merchants were not allowed to trade with the French, Dutch, or Spanish Empire. Britain implements this mercantilism through the Navigation Act, with Americans avoided of offering a fleet with the royal officials responded to smuggling, with open-ended search warrants, British often stand in 1761, Boston lawyer James Otis argued that the which violated the constitutional rights of the colonies. He lost the case, but John Adams did the law, then and there, the child independence of court. 1764 to 1766, more provocative legislation. Britain did not expect the colonies to contribute to the interest of the retirement of the debt incurred during its wars, but they did expect a portion of the expense for colonial defense to be made by the Americans. Estimating the experiences of the defending the continental colonies and the British West Indies to be approximately 200 million yen actually annual. The British goal after the end of this war was that the colonies would be taxed for 70,000 yen. Of these taxes were high, they were not very low. But that they had no representation in the parliament. Parliament insisted it had the right to levy any tax without colonial approval. To demonstrate this, that it had authority over the colonies. Role of women. Women contributed to the American Revolution in many ways and were involved on both sides. Where former revolution politics did not include women, ordinary domestic believers became charged with political activities as patriots. Women confronted a war that permitted all aspects of political, civil, and domestic life. They participated by boycotting British goods and spying on the British, following armies of the march, washing, cooking, and lending for food, delivering secret messages, and in few cases like Deborah Thompson fighting, disguised as men. Above all, they continued to the agricultural work at home to feed the armies and their families. No doubt the American Revolution inspired the French to stage their own revolution, and some American founding fathers such as Thomas Jefferson were sympathetic to the French Revolution. Yet where the American Revolution was success, the French Revolution fell into chaos. What went wrong with the French Revolution? In a way, France of the 1780s was truly Orwellian, like Orwell's 1984. The people lived in a repressive society, and like Orwell's Animal Farm, the revolutionaries were even worse than those who they posed.